What's going on, everybody? It's another Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast right here on AM 970 The Answer. Those of you who listen to the Joe Piscopo Show morning 6 to 10 a.m. will know that this is Georgi Zamfir, The Lonely Shepherd. But it's also a song that was heard in Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2. And my son and I got a chance to see the combined Kill Bill Volume 1, Volume 2 over the weekend at a Cinemark theater. And it's the entire movie in its entirety. It's kind of redundant, I know. It was shown the way that Quentin Tarantino wanted it to be shown. And I have to tell you, I love Kill Bill. I think it's one of his masterpieces. I love a lot of stuff that Quentin Tarantino does. But this movie in particular, Uma Thurman, she's tremendous in it. The whole cast of characters, it's amazing. And if you've never seen it, you should in the two-part, the way they do it. But this was shown 4.5 hours in its entirety. We had a great time. No guests this week. We got a lot of news to get to, so I want to dive right into it. And we'll start it off with another closing of a brewery. And, you know, I know this has been ongoing and ongoing and ongoing. This one sort of was expected because they are going to move into a new location. So Five Boroughs Brewing will be shuttering their tap room in the Sunset Park neighborhood at the end of this month. Or not really at the end of this month, but December 21st. So parent company Barrel One Collective announced a week ago, about a little more than a week ago, the company cited the brewery's lease ending as the reason for the closure and emphasized that a search for a new home is underway. This is not really a surprise here. When Five Boroughs merged with Smutty Nose and then eventually they created this Barrel One Collective because the place was not making Five Boroughs' beer anymore. So why have such a huge facility and pay for it when you don't need it? They said that the search for the new home is underway. The last day of service is December 21st. Any future home for the brand will focus on foot traffic and taproom experience versus manufacturing space, according to the release, which added that the hunt for another location is actively underway. Now, my hope is that they remain somewhere in the neighborhood, maybe Industry City, not that far. There's already a couple of breweries in Industry City. Certainly would be a great location for them. But if they're emphasizing foot traffic and taproom experience, maybe it's not there. Maybe it's someplace else in Brooklyn or elsewhere in the city. Who knows? Maybe Manhattan. We don't know. Finest Kind, the parent company of Smutty Nose Brewing, acquired Five Boroughs back in November of 2023, more than a year before it merged with Massachusetts Bay Brewing to create the Barrel One platform. After the transaction, Five Boroughs' production shifted to Smutty Nose's facility in Hampton, New Hampshire. They brew the beer there. They bring it down to New York. Makes sense when you're a part of a collective. The Sunset Park Brewery, obviously, is their original location and will transition to a cafe and event venue for Brooklyn Cannery, a prebiotic soda brand. Brooklyn Cannery plans to serve Five Boroughs products once the space reopens. So that's kind of cool that it's going to continue to serve their beer after it reopens. Co-founder Kevin O'Donnell said in the release, the taproom has been so much more than four walls and a bar. It's been a gathering place for neighbors, a home for our team, and a symbol of what we set out to build, a beer brand that celebrates every corner of New York. While it's bittersweet to say goodbye, I'm incredibly grateful for the community that has supported us from day one. O'Donnell, Blake Thomas, who both we've had on the program before, and Keanu Ovesi founded Five Boroughs back in 2017, pre-pandemic. The brewery's output peaked at a little over 10,000 barrels in 2021. Post-acquisition production figures have not been released. So remember, Barrel One is Smutty Nose, Five Boroughs, Washute, Island District Cocktails, Massachusetts Bay, Harpoon, UFO Long Trail, Clown Shoes, Otter Creek, The Shed, Catamount, Dunkin' Spiced, and Right Coast Spirits. That happened December of last year. Five Boroughs is the only craft beer brand that is outside of New England or founded outside of New England. So there you go. Again, like I said, it's not a surprise to me. This is actually a smart move. The lease was up. Why are you going to continue to lease a space in which you're not brewing beer out of? They had originally said they were going to do some R&D stuff in there, but now that looks like that's not going to happen. And I get the sense that the smaller space that they're looking for foot traffic will not be producing any beer at all. It'll just be a tap room. Kudos to them. I hope they stay in Brooklyn. But obviously, since they're 5 boroughs, which is smart with their name, they can move anywhere. So it all depends. Would love to see Staten Island get another brewery. But I think if they're looking for foot traffic, it's probably going to be Brooklyn or Manhattan. That's my guess. Wet Ticket Brewing, they're going to have their holiday pajama brunch this coming Saturday, December 13th. That's from 1 to 4 p.m. Rudolph's Refresher is on tap. Had one about a week and a half ago. Excellent as always. Get it with the sugar rim. It's certainly worth it. And a Bowls and Rolls food truck will be there, and there might even be a special visitor. Who knows? Icarus Brewing is having their 9th anniversary party, January 16th through the 18th. Details to follow. You certainly want to get in on that. We'll see if I get there. I'd like to get there. We will see. The other big thing, you know what? We'll talk about that in our next segment. We're going to tease that. Some stuff going on with the Atlantic City Beer and Music Festival. We will talk about that either in our next segment or in our third segment. So I'm going to leave it there. That's a tease. Big Brew's 15th anniversary. It is back. It's at the Morristown Armory Saturday, March 7th. It's 15th anniversary. Special pricing through January 2nd. Listen to this. VIP is $60. General admission is $40. Prices increase January 3rd. Get yours early. There's 1 4-hour session. Again, it's from noon to 1 is the VIP hour. 1 to 5 is the general admission. 175 styles of craft beer. Music by Mr. Lovejoy. It is a benefit for the Morris Rugby Corporation. BigBrewNJ.com to get your tickets. Obviously 21 and older with valid ID. No outside food, drink, large bags, coolers, or reentry. This is always a great event that Allison throws. I will certainly be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Jersey Girl Brewing, our friends over there, Chuck Aaron does a great job over there and was recently reelected to his town's council. Kudos to Chuck. They are doing a holiday vendor market. It's this coming Saturday, December 13th, 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., 426 Sand Shore Road in Mount Olive, New Jersey. They will have vendor displays, craft beer, and, of course, seltzers to drink. They're going to have live music, a chance to take photos with Santa. It is pet-friendly. Everyone is invited, including kids. So come on out to Jersey Girl Brewing. They'll have a holiday vendor market there, and you can get yourself pick up some holiday gifts from some independent vendors and have a great beer with Jersey Girl. Kind of cool. Now, if you've noticed that you're buying a 6-pack of Sam Adams and it's a little bit more money, there's a reason for that. Over the last 10 years, the price of Sam Adams has jumped 71%, which is huge. Now, obviously, craft beer has gotten more expensive since the pandemic. That's part of it. But you also have to remember ingredients, cans, bottles, shipping, the whole thing. There are reasons why that price increased. The other part of it is Sam Adams' European-inspired brewing style uses German noble hops, which are rarer and pricier than most other hop varietals. Now, when you add in those higher packaging costs, state taxes, regional pricing differences, it's no surprise to see that rise has gone even 5 or 10 years ago, that the price has gone up. But we're seeing it everywhere, right? We're seeing people, less people drinking. We're seeing less people spending, large sums of money. The price of a 4-pack has gone from, depending on what it is, and I'll just take IPAs for example. You were at the $15, $16 range at one point a couple of years ago. Now you're routinely, it's $18, $19, some over $20 depending on the ABV. So none of these things should be surprising to anybody. And again, I've said this time and time again. If you put out a good product, people are going to buy it, no matter the cost, right? But there comes a limit. If your beer is constantly going up and the beer is not that good, you're going to find that not many people are going to be buying your stuff. It's a difficult balance, right? When you're running a small business, how much can I push the envelope before my consumer says, I can't buy it anymore because it's too expensive for me? Some guys say, we'll eat the cost, keep it the way it is. We're hoping that, the prices go down. It's a good strategy, but, at some point it can bite you in the rear end. So you have to be very careful when you're moving prices up and down. We're also seeing that some people, you got to remember, Pilsner's lagers, a little bit less money. Still the same drinking experience, except you're not going to get banged over the head for $20, $21 a 4-pack, and maybe the beer isn't 8 or 9%, maybe it's 5%. So maybe you're consuming a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe it's the switch, 16-ounce to 12-ounce cans. But again, that's a cost. And is your equipment ready to handle that? Can you get the aluminum for the same price? Probably not. There's so many different variables. So, yes, the prices are going up, and at some point we hope that they're going to come down. Now, when we come back after a short break, Torch and Crown Brewing, which shut down a number of weeks ago, has made an announcement as to why the shutdown happened. But the quote comes from Brewbound and not from me. But I will let you know all about it when we come back after this on the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer. Welcome back to the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer, the all news edition, because we have plenty of news. We've had guests for the last couple of weeks taking up a few segments, and that's always good. We like that. But we've got a lot of news to get to. So I want to jump right into it. I had teased in the last segment about Torch and Crown and their closing, and I had reached out to John Danzler a week ago, more than that, about a week and a half ago, seeking comment. He didn't get back to me. No comment from him. However, he did speak to Brewbound, and he said, telling Brewbound, that the brewery's inability to pay rent and subsequent eviction stems from a 2024 ruling from the New York City Department of Buildings that prohibited Torch and Crown from using the Soho location's outdoor beer garden. Despite being included in the brewery's lease, the parcel belonged to a separate tax lot, according to John, and could not be used to host guests. The quote from him, this area accounted for over half of the public square footage and a similar amount of the location's total sales. Without that space, we could not pay the rent for the full space, but had a temporary reduced rent agreement while we navigated the DOB process and worked towards a long-term deal. A year later, the outdoor space, still unusable, the landlord has opted to pursue a higher rent with another tenant. All employees who have lost their jobs due to the closure are receiving severance payments, according to Danzler. So it's an interesting thing here. They were served eviction notices back on February 11th and 21st, and then a third eviction notice on October 2nd. Again, they had not paid a significant amount of rent for over a year. It's just tough to do business that way if you're unable to, get a break on your rent or negotiate so a space can stay open. I would like to believe that John has done everything possible to keep the space afloat, and I have a feeling that, since he's not able to, I don't expect them to reopen somewhere else. And their deal with Aslan, I don't know what happens there moving forward. John, if you are listening, I would love to chat with you about it and see what happens with this distributing deal that you had with Aslan and other beers in your portfolio. So we'll have to table it there at this point. And if there's anything else, anybody knows anything or wants to reach out to me, Albert G at nycradio.com, would be happy to listen to you. That's the email address, albertg at nycradio.com. For the Atlantic City Beer and Music Fest, good news, bad news. The good news, just for the Here for the Beer tickets are on sale right now. acbeerfest.com is where you can get them. The lowest prices that you will find at the event, $65 plus tax and fees to be at the event. On sale until January 4th at midnight, Saturday, April 11th in Atlantic City. I've already got my hotel rooms booked. I am ready to go. I got a great deal at the Tropicana. Very happy about that. But the sad news is that the coming 20th anniversary of the Atlantic City Beer and Music Fest will be the last one. I think it's time. I think it has run its course, and I think John and his crew have done an absolutely amazing job of putting this event together. acbeerfest.com. Get your tickets. I'll be there. Would love to see you. Would love to have a beer. Pretty sure I'm going to go to the night session, but would love to see you there. It's going to be a great time in Atlantic City. Now, Dogfish Head is doing this amazing event that is taking place this coming Thursday, December 11th. I will be there. I hope to see you too. The tickets are on sale now, but they may be sold out by the time you hear this. This is going to be at the Bowery Electric to celebrate the release of their Dirty 30 Martini canned cocktail with their pals from Cream Magazine. Municipal Waste and 95 Bulls will be rocking the stage for this unapologetically dirty celebration where you could be the first to sample Dirty 30, a ready-to-drink dirty martini canned cocktail. I've posted the link. If you go to ticketweb.com and just search for the Bowery Electric, you will find the link for the tickets. This is going to be great. Sam Calagione will be there. I myself are going to be there. This Dogfish Head Osprey vodka, first macerated on fresh rosemary, blanched garlic cloves, and red chili pepper flakes, then blended with an olive brine from Greece and a house-made vermouth created using an herbal tincture imported from Italy. This is the Dirty 30 Dirty Martini canned cocktail. It's priced at $19.99 per 4-pack of 12-ounce cans. It's a limited edition offering. It'll be available at Dogfish Head's coastal Delaware locations, and nationwide you can get it at Give Them Beer. You can click on that and buy it, and they'll ship it. And that all starts this coming Thursday, December 11th. It's a 19.5% ABV canned cocktail. Each 12-ounce can includes 2 servings, best enjoyed chilled, garnished with olives. It is going to be fantastic. The doors open at 8 p.m. 8:30, the opening act will hit the stage. 9:15, the headliner will begin. So the opening act, I believe, is 95 Bulls. Municipal Waste is the headliner. Dogfish.com and Cream.com, respectively, if you would like some more information on that. And I'm wondering, did I skip over some stuff? Maybe I did. I don't recall that I did, but I guess I did. I thought I had some stuff here, but this says it's page 6. Oh, that's page 5. Okay. Forgive me, folks. Anyway, this event with Dogfish Head is going to be awesome. It is it's a real listen, their canned cocktails, I'll be honest with you, are probably some of the best that I've ever drank. I am super impressed with how they do things. Sam does an amazing job. And I'm not just saying that because I have a tattoo of Dogfish Head on my arm. They've been around for 30 years, and there's a reason why they're around for 30 years. Plain and simple. They know. And look, Sam was not without, or Dogfish was not without its problems as well a number of years ago. They had been bought out by a hedge fund, or a hedge fund had come in. The note was coming due. It was fortuitous that Sam met up with Jim Cook in Boston. They sort of got together, and, one of the early mergers in beer, putting the two of them together. And you have to say, it's probably one of the most successful beer mergers in the country. They complement one another, their styles. They both brew different types of beer. Dogfish Head is more about the IPAs than they are about the lagers. Although they can make themselves a good lager as well. They have a good Pilsner that's out. There's good stuff. I myself find the 30-minute IPA one of the best session beers that you can drink. It's a low ABV, it's low cal, low carbs. It's really, really good stuff. So I enjoy it. I think both brands do a tremendous job, and I think both brands needed one another. That's the thing. They both needed one another in a time where, there was a lot of stuff happening. You didn't want to see a legacy brand like that go out of business. I mean, it goes to show you that a 30-year brewery can figure out a path forward and market it the right way. Whereas you have Rogue Ale and Spirits, tons of money in debt. We're going to get into that in the next segment. I mean, a lot of debt. And in some ways, I think misled people, to be honest with you. They apparently had a deal on the table for a company or whatever, and like I said, we'll get into it in the next segment, and didn't disclose everything. That's not a way to do good business. And you would hope, look, the intellectual property of Rogue is going to go up for auction. Somebody could come in and buy it and continue the brand. But at this point, do you really want to? I mean, think about it. Rogue was in all 50 states. They had all these different things going on. And yet, did you hear anything about Rogue in this area of the country, in the tri-state? No. Non-existent. You didn't hear about them at all. So, that's the interesting thing here. Legacy brands don't always survive. Sometimes they have to close, and that's okay. That's okay. I never want to see breweries go out of business. I never want to see businesses go out of business, but at some point, these things happen. And there's really nothing that you can do about it. Go back to the Torch and Crown thing for a second. I mean, here's a guy trying to make a living in Manhattan. Very expensive proposition to do. And they had to open during a pandemic and had to deal with a lot of ups and downs. And they tried to, balance it out. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for them. Part of it, I think, and this is just my personal opinion, when you outsource your beer to a company down in Virginia, and, Aslan makes good beer, but it's Virginia, and then bringing it back up here to New York. I don't know. I don't think that was a great business decision. But again, that's just my opinion. They had tanks in their building that they never used. That the original plan was to brew the beer in the brewery itself in the room, and then put it right into the taps, a pipe running right to the tap. You couldn't get any fresher, and it never happened. Maybe that's what they should have done. I don't know. Hindsight is 20/20, right? It's weird. The business is weird. But it's an interesting business, let's put it that way. And, small business is the lifeblood of America. And I never want to see a business go out of business. But two different things there, right? When we come back after a short break, we'll talk more about Rogue and some other stuff that's going on in the beer world. This is the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970, The Answer. Welcome back to the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970, The Answer. Might help if I start the timer on the my little clock here so that I know how long that I have to go for each segment. A couple little technical things there. Hope everybody is doing well as we finish out this first week of December. Christmas right around the corner. It's funny, my wife and I, she came back to me a couple weeks ago and said, let's not exchange Christmas presents this year. Let's just do something Christmassy. I said, okay. But I know I'm going to end up getting her a little something. I have to. It's that's in my DNA. I'm not going to, not acknowledge Christmas to her with a present. So, something to do. So I think we're going to go see Trans-Siberian Orchestra in Newark on the 19th. I've never been. I've heard a lot of good things. And it sounds like it's right up my alley. So I think we're going to do that as a little Christmassy thing. Maybe we come into the city to see the tree. I don't know. We have to come into the city right after New Year's. So maybe we'll go see the tree then because I know it's after Christmas, but at least maybe the crowds, it's not as crazy. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Anyway, let's dive in to some more news here. And I had talked about it in the last break about Rogue Beer and Spirits. And we found out more a week ago, Monday, on their bankruptcy filing, and the amount of people that they owed money to. A couple of banks, a couple of different brands, they owed a lot of money. And apparently, they had more than $1.2 million in hop inventory, just under $700,000 in labeled and bottled beverages, just short of $3 million of barrel-aged whiskey, more than $1 million in raw materials, and a little over $500,000 in packaging. The number, sort of grew and grew and grew. It's amazing to me, a legacy brand like this that has been around since 1988. I mean, think about that, 30-plus years. And they just didn't do anything to try and get themselves out of the hole that they were in. They just continued to let it pile on and pile on and pile on. That's not a good thing when you're running a business like that. I mean, you have to figure a way out. And it's a shame that that's happened. And, who takes it over? Obviously, the assets will be put up for auction, the recipes, the brand name. Does somebody come in and buy it and try to revitalize it? I think somebody will, to be honest with you. push comes to shove, I think somebody certainly will try to revitalize the brand. Remains to be seen. I guess we'll see what happens. But I wonder, somebody like a Tilray, who has not done well in the beer segment, and their stock, they just had a split on their stock. Do they acquire that brand? Do they try to buy it at auction? I mean, maybe they get it at a cheap price, but how do you continue making the beer? I mean, obviously they own a bunch of breweries. They could certainly do that, but be interesting to see what happens there with Rogue. Boston Beer, of course, Samuel Adams, has introduced a new stout. It's their first winter seasonal in 30 years. Samuel Adams Winter White Ale, just under 6% ABV wheat ale brewed with orange peel, cinnamon, nutmeg, and clove for a balanced, sweet, and spiced flavor. And that seasonal stout is a part of Sam Adams Winter Break Variety Pack. And they also have a cold brew coffee stout. That's a 6% ABV. Special release, dark roasted malt character, smooth black coffee, and cocoa tones, and a fleeting hint of vanilla. So kudos to Sam Adams. Some new stuff that is out there. Celebration, of course, is out from Sierra Nevada. This was first brewed back in 1981. It's an IPA. It's something that my buddy John Flatung, drinks every year because he loves it. It's one of his favorite beers because it's also a fresh hopped India Pale Ale. So every year is different. You've got to get it when it comes out. The longer it sits on the shelf, obviously the shelf life degrades the beer. So when it comes out, you got to get it as soon as possible to drink it at its freshest. Yuengling headed to Iowa and Wisconsin next year. They were teasing with cryptic billboards in both Midwestern states stating the drought ends soon. The official news dropped this past Monday. This is the joint venture between Yuengling and Molson Coors. That launched back in 2020 to bring the Yuengling portfolio west of the Mississippi River. In Wisconsin, Yuengling Traditional Lager and Flight will roll out on draft in late January, followed by packages of Yuengling Lager, Light Lager, Black and Tan, Golden Pilsner, and Flight. Those will all be arriving in early March. And beginning in February, Yuengling's Iowa launch will start with draft, followed by packaged beer in March. Pure Project is having their 10th anniversary. This is taking place on Saturday, January 31st. It is a space-themed celebration at Pure Project Miramar. Suit up for a limited edition celestial brews, stellar food vendors, and entertainment that'll keep the cosmic vibe soaring until last call. Don't take any chances. The event does sell out. You can check out all the details at purebrewing.org event/pure-10th anniversary party. Just want to see if they're going to have any. It's let's see. It's from 1 to 5 p.m. It'll be at their Miramar Brewery and Tap Room. Go boldly with us is what they're calling it. So I wonder if they're going to have a Star Trek themed beer. I don't know. There's a VIP hour from 11:30 to 1. That's nice. The general admission is from 1 to 5. They're going to have a beer garden and food vendors to be announced, live music, rare beers. Rare and specialty beer tappings will take place throughout the event. Then they're going to have a cellar bottle sale. They're pulling bottled beers out of their cellar for purchase. Many of those beers will only be available on that day. The general admission tickets are $35 plus tax. You get admission from 1 to 5. You get 6 drink tokens. Beer will be available in taster of full pour sizes and will vary in price from 1 to 4 tokens. You get a raffle ticket benefiting Wild Coast, and you get a commemorative 10th anniversary glass. $1 from each ticket sale gets donated to Wild Coast. If you decide to do the VIP session, that's $65 plus tax. You get you get in at 11:30, so you get an hour and a half early access. You get a welcome pour, so you get a beer on them. You get access to special beers. You get 6 drink tokens and a raffle ticket and the glass, and $1 from each of those sales will be donated to Wild Coast. Additional drink tokens available for purchase at the event for $2.50 each. Drink tokens are not redeemable for cash. They are non-refundable, so plan your token purchases accordingly. So very cool. So they have different price points here on the tokens and stuff, and what one token gets you as opposed to another token. But good stuff here from Pure Project. They make some really, really good beer out in San Diego, so you definitely want to check them out. And then finally, We talked about Anchor Brewing earlier this year, and there was plans that they were going to revitalize the brand and they were going to reopen the brewery and start pumping out beer again. Unfortunately, that doesn't look like it's going to happen. So after 128 years of calling San Francisco home, they are leaving the city where it all began. So what ended up happening was, we talked about this, Chobani founder, the yogurt founder, Hamadi Yulkaya, acquired the brand earlier this year. And he said it was his intention to restore Anchor's production facility and return brewing to the city, where it all began in 1896. However, according to comments back in May, his team told the San Francisco Standard they have no intention of reopening the original brewery or reestablishing a physical tap room in the city. At least for now, instead, Anchor beer will be brewed by a contract partner outside of San Francisco. You got to remember, this is a brewery that has been in existence since 1896. As you remember, in 1965, Fritz Maytag bought the struggling brewery for a couple of $1,000s, cleaned it up, and reinvented what beer, could be in some shape or form. In 1975, Anchor released Liberty Ale, which has been widely credited as the first modern American IPA. And then they did, it was mostly small batch, tradition-focused approach, inspired the founders, the way they did their beer. The founders of Sierra Nevada, New Belgium, Boston Beer, and a bunch of others have all commented about how Anchor Steam was the beer that got them started into wanting to brew beer. So there's a lot of history behind this, and it's a shame that they are moving the operations out and doing it elsewhere for whatever reason, whether it's cost. And again, I know the equipment needs to be maintained a certain way. When Sapporo bought it, they thought they were going to be able to make their beer in there, and they couldn't. There's a lot of different variables here, and it's just sad that a legacy brewery is leaving San Francisco after it had been revived. I honestly wish, to be honest with you, I wish that the employees who wanted to buy it and were running a GoFundMe or whatever and trying to raise money to take over the brewery, I wish they had succeeded. I think if they had succeeded, I think this brewery would still be in San Francisco. I think it would have been up and running by now. I think they would have been trying to generate a beer and make a profit, because there are a lot of people. And again, as we talked about when Anchor Brewing closed, not a lot of people were drinking Anchor anymore. You barely saw it. They did a whole can refresh, label refresh, didn't do anything to move the needle. A lot of people were like, yeah, I can't remember the last time I had an Anchor Steam. Oh, yeah, it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So interesting to see that this brewery went under, has now been revitalized, but is going to be outside of San Francisco probably forever. Not a good thing. Just not a good thing. Piece of history gone. When we come back after a short break, Suds and Duds on the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer. Final segment of the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer. Yeah, it was cold on Friday, wasn't it? Did you enjoy that deep freeze if you're here in the New York City, New Jersey area? Yeah, I didn't. I'm not a fan. Not a fan of winter. Don't like winter. Spring I can take. I can handle summer. I can handle a little bit of fall. But I don't like winter at all. And it seems like the winters, at least in my perspective, the winters are longer. We don't really have a fall or a spring anymore. It just kind of, fall sort of happens. One day it's 70, the next day it's 50, the next day it's 40. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, boom, the bottom drops out, and it's 10 degrees. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm getting old. But ever since I can't believe next year will be 10 years that I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Since my cancer, I do not tolerate the cold very well anymore. It's just, I just don't. Maybe because when I was dealing with my cancer, I was very cold all the time, like constantly. I could wrap myself in 3 blankets and I wouldn't feel warm. Not a good thing. All right, I don't want to make this a downer here on the final segment. Let's dive into Suds and Duds. Headquartered by Battle River Brewing. My man Funk over at Paragon Tap and Table had a couple of sample cans that they were tasting some stuff, so we poured this one. A solid porter. Vanilla is there. It's not over the top. Interesting. I've had a couple of things from Battle River. Not super impressed. Sort of middle of the road. Drinkable beers. Nothing that's a drain pour, but nothing that wowed me that said, wow, I gotta buy them. That's one of those things. Again, I think the way things are, if your beer is sort of well, let's put it this way. If you're opening a business and your beer is not blowing the socks off of people, that's going to be a problem very quickly. You may get the neighborhood people coming. You may get, family and friends. But the beer drinkers that would want to be there consistently, okay, the beer has to be on point. Perfect example is Pallet Brewing. Right out of the box, boom, beer is good. Consistently good. That's what you need to be. Wet Ticket, right out of the box. By the way, kudos to Wet Ticket. Congratulations to those guys. 9 years in business. Next year will be year number 10. I'll be at their pajama party next week or this coming week. Going to be a lot of fun. Tim and Al doing a great job in Rahway. Their beer has always been consistently good. I don't think I've had maybe one or two beers, not my cup of tea, but I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head what their names were. That's how good it is. All right. Anyway, not a bad beer from Battle River, I have to say. I liked it. What we don't see, this is by KCBC. This is the Kings County Brewers Collective. Roasty, dry, delicious, a nice, what I felt like was an Irish, this was an Imperial Stout, so it had some heft to it, but I liked the dryness on the back end of it. I really thought that was good. Then what did I have at Paragon on tap? The Wreck Pond. Good stuff by Bakes Brewing. Another winner from these guys. Juicy, hazy, delicious. Love to see it at Paragon Tap and Table. They're pushing further north now. I know they're at the Cloverleaf. Good stuff. I am glad to see these guys breaking out of Belmar and moving up New Jersey to get their beers in places. Bakes another one right out of the box, just hitting it, boom, 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 boom. And that's what you have to do to be successful as a brewery right now. You've got to have great beer when you start. You've got to have things to draw people in, especially in New Jersey. Maybe not so much elsewhere because different laws in different states. But the vibe in Jersey is you've got to have great beer and you got to have something to draw people in, whether it's entertainment, trivia, whatever it is. If you get people, it's a food truck every week, whatever it is, that's how you draw those people in. The Suds keeps them there. At least that's in my opinion. Noah by Oak Flower, a really great dark lager from Oak Flower. Roasty, dark, smooth. Love this beer. Really, really good. I wish I had gotten over for the 3-year anniversary. Would have loved to have had that collab with Misorium. Just didn't get a chance to get over there. And it's a shame. Tahoe, as I was mentioning, Pallet just a few moments ago. This is a really delicious West Coast style IPA. It's just the right amount of dank and bitterness. We talked about it when we had Eric McGowan on the show and how the West Coast IPA is sort of his nemesis. But his brewer, tremendous job on this. It's really, really good. And I like a good West Coast IPA. I mean, honestly, give me a West Coast IPA and I'm a happy camper. I know the juicy, IPAs are the trend and I like them. But there are a lot of calories, to be honest with you. And I'm trying to cut back on calories, so I have to be sparing when I drink one of these, big, juicy, hazy IPAs because, it'll catch up to you. Speaking of which, Nosh's Eggers Select Rawaka and Eggers Motueka by Twin Elephant. I thought this was my last can in the fridge. I actually have one more can left. Absolutely banger of a beer, and as I said on Untapped, you can follow me there at Gattullo, Gattullo. I said, my liver thanks you. Maybe not so much, but I have to tell you, great beer, super juicy. That Eggers hop is just unbelievable. And I think I started following those guys on Instagram, the Eggers hop people. It's amazing to me how this hop is so craved by people. People go nuts over this hop in all the various forms. It's pretty wild. It's just, listen, these guys in Jersey keep cranking it out. I will keep buying it. You definitely have a buyer in me. Holy Moonlight by Autodidact. We've talked about this beer before. A slight bite in this one, which I am enjoying. It is so good. I thought a few weeks in the fridge would settle it down a little bit. It did not, and I'm actually happy that it didn't. It is quite a delicious beer. Paragon had the Dream Sequence, which was the collab between Alternate Ending and The Test. This is a big triple IPA, but it does not drink like one. It will definitely sneak up on you. I had one, and one was enough for me. I was definitely not going to do more than that. I think I had this. This was when we were heading down to see Accept in Queensryche over at the Starland Ballroom. So I had one of those. I could have had another, but I was like, you know what? It was raining that night. Better off that I don't overindulge with that one. And then I had something else, but I don't remember because I didn't check it in because we were just busy catching up on. I was with friends and just drinking and carrying on and whatever. And then the next day, I went over for a cigar at Sticks, which was great. This delicious Cuban Monte Cristo that Joe Piscopo had given me, and really enjoyed that smoke for about 2.5 hours. So that was nice. But then walked over to Wet Ticket right down the street. Had a Rudy's Refresher, which is on tap now. And get it with the sugar rim. If you go into Wet Ticket and you decide you're going to get the Rudy's Refresher, get it with the sugar rim. It definitely makes a difference. I've had it without it, and it's good. But as a fruit wheat beer, you definitely want the sugar rim to help it out. It just, I should say help it out. It enhances it. It just gives it an extra little zing to it that I like. And then I had a Droning on, which is, I would think that this is Wet Ticket's house lager. It should be. If Tim, if you're listening, Al, if you're listening, make this the house lager because this is such a really good beer. I mean, it is fantastic. It is drinkable over and over and over again. Good stuff from the guys at Wet Ticket. Kudos to them. 9 years in the center of Rahway. And, I think one of the better success stories in craft beer with Wet Ticket because of how they started and how they've been very methodical in moving things forward. When they started, they had, I don't remember if they did have some stuff in cans. No, you know what? I don't think they had anything in cans. If I recall correctly, when they started, it was draft, and then they had growlers. And I remember picking up a growler or two of stuff to take home and, et cetera, et cetera. And it was a couple of years in before they started doing cans, certainly before the pandemic. And then I think the first thing they canned was the Kolsch, which they still can to this day, and Tim's Kolsch is excellent. And then, they moved on to some things, a stout here, a IPA there. But even the Trolley Hopper IPA was more of it's a New England style, but certainly not juicy, hazy. They did a pale ale. They did a couple of different things. And then started really putting stuff in cans. And they don't can everything, which I think is great kudos to them. Because sometimes, you know what? You don't want a certain beer in a can. It's meant to be drunk, off the tap as a draft beer. And I like that. And they were very methodical about what places they were selling in, bars that were carrying it, and they still are to this day. And I think that's a testament to them. They do things very slowly, but it has certainly worked for them. Certainly being open now 7 days a week has certainly worked out for them. They gave it a try. They said, let's see what happens. And you know what? The people come in. Maybe it's a little slow on Mondays and Tuesdays. That's to be expected. But they're continuing it, and they keep going. And I think that is a great thing. So kudos to them. 9 years in a business that is very tough, certainly in New Jersey, is incredibly tough. So you really have to be you really have to give them a lot of credit for doing what they do. They're looking to expand a little bit, maybe more of a little bit of a bigger tap room, a little bit more space to brew beer. They're going to improve the beer garden for next summer. I'm excited for the future of Wet Ticket. It's going to be great. And give you a little teaser here. Might be doing a collaboration beer with them in the new year, which would be really cool. My thanks to everybody involved in the show. I will be back, of course, last but not least, the great Buddy Watson. And I will be back live on the Joe Piscopo Show Monday at 6 a.m. This has been the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer. Cheers, everybody.